I'm now joined on the line by Dwight Schultz, who played iconic Murdoch in the classic TV series The A-Team. Dwight, it's an absolute honour to have you here on the show with us. And Dwight, if I can start off by taking you back to the very beginning, how did the opportunity come about for you to be cast as the Howling Mad Murdock character?
Well, when I was working at the Williamstown Theatre Festival several years prior, I had made a comedy tape for NBC.
Yeah.
And the tape kicked around for about 2 years. And Stephen Cannell, the producer, and Frank Lupo, the other producer, saw the tape. And they asked me to audition. And I did. And I was playing Lord Byron in a play called The Keeper, in Philadelphia.
All right.
And so I flew out on my day off, auditioned, and got the part.
Yeah, and Dwight, the Murdoch character, Dwight, from the beginning, was it always on the cards that Murdoch would resemble maybe a US soldier who suffered from mental anguish in the Vietnam War? Or was that wacky, unstable persona a way for Murdoch maybe to distance himself from reality? Or was it what the writers at the time were thinking about, maybe that situation of American soldiers coming back, and maybe this is maybe a sort of a deep sort of rooted thing in the Murdoch character? Or what would you make of it?
No, not at all. He was quite sane. They kept him out. He was never really quote unquote a member. He was an unknown member, but he was a very important member of the A-Team because he was the pilot. So that was his cover. That was his cover, being crazy. But of course, just like Chuck Tamburo, who was the stunt pilot, chopper pilot for the show, all chopper pilots are a little crazy by definition. But no, Murdoch was playfully sane.
Okay. And the A-Team itself, Dwight, it was a light-hearted sort of action comedy series that was a blend of characters, from the cunning Hannibal to the cool slick face man to the in-your-face sort of all-action BA. And first of all, starting off in the first season, was it a big production from the start? And when as a cast did you realise that, hey, we're onto something special here? Was it maybe a few shows in, or...?
Well, it was very big. It was a very big production to start with. It was huge. The pilot was 2 hours. We shot it in Mexico. They didn't spare any expense, really. But George Peppard was a very good... he had a very good take on what success meant on television. And when he read the script, he thought it was going to be a big hit. And in fact, I'll just be honest with you, NBC didn't want it to be a hit because it didn't. It was not considered quality programming. They were more interested in Hill Street Blues and St. Elsewhere, and they were shocked by the surprise success of the show.
Yeah. But
Peppard and Stephen Cannell and Dirk and I and Melinda Kalea, we all thought it was going to be successful. At the time, actually, it was Tim Dunnigan playing Faceman. Yeah. But we all felt very good about the show. It was very lighthearted. It was a comic book, good versus evil, fun show, male-oriented, and there weren't many male-oriented shows, actually. There was going out of style. And we thought it was going to be successful, but the network didn't, and they did everything they could to kill it.
Yeah, Dwight, if I can mention about George Peppard, he was a big name even before he entered the A-Team franchise, a real accomplished actor, and as we all know, he battled his own personal demons. But what was George like on set during filming? What are some of your favourite or funny stories or bloopers on set or behind the scenes with George Peppard? He struck me as a highly intelligent man, and like his character Hannibal Smith. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's very fair. And George was, I will tell you, the best story about George was the very first time I walked into the makeup trailer to meet him. George turned around, put out his hand, and said, "Hi, Al. I'm George Peppard, and I'm not a very nice man." And that threw me for a loop. I laughed out loud when he said it, but he was being serious because he had this, he had this reputation for being a mean drunk and all this sort of thing. But he never touched the bottle on the set. He was still smoking, but he was a chess player. That's what George was. He knew scripts. He was a chess player. He was always playing games with the producers and with the network. And we would always go over the scripts together and try to make them better if there was a big problem. And he really did know what worked on camera and what didn't. He crossed out tons of dialogue that he felt was unnecessary. But he was a famous movie star. And I mean, I remember seeing him in How the West Was Won when I was just 16, and Breakfast at Tiffany's, and the Carpetbaggers. He was just a huge star, and it was a real thrill to work with him.
And Dwight, if I can bring you on now to your so-called sidekick on the show, Templeton Peck, Face Man, the Charmer, or the so-called Lady Killer. And even still today, I see various online, I was reading an awful lot, you still have a great and deep friendship, the two of you. And I suppose there's a few scenes that sum up that where you're singing Going to Surf City to Hannibal Rings a Bell, or another scene when Murdoch finds himself having to keep the secret about Face's father from him. And what are your memories of those scenes, and what is your own favourite Face and Murdoch scene, and what again maybe are some of the favourite or funny stories on set with Dirk Benedict?
Yeah, well, Dirk was I knew him because he was Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica. And again, when he was originally the choice of Stephen Cannell for the part of Face Man. But the network wanted Tim Dunnigan. And so they fired Tim Dunnigan because they felt he was too young. And we had a reading right after the pilot. We came in, and it's the only time we ever actually had a reading.
Yeah.
And there was Dirk Benedict, and they didn't tell us he was going to be there. They didn't tell us he had replaced Tim. He just was there, and we read it. And I hit it off with him because he has one of the great senses of humor of anybody that I've ever worked with. Dirk and I can sit down and talk and laugh about just about anything. And we didn't actually play together that much. We were playing off of one another. The only time, and I of course took over his role when he was out of the country for a while.
Yeah.
But we just had a blast, and I would spend hours in his little trailer, and we just had a great friendship. And then afterwards, when he got married and I got married, and we had kids, we kept up the friendship. But we worked together very well on the set. We were always on time. We always, when T and George decided that they were going to leave the set early, Dirk and I were brought in at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we would leave at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of time to talk to one another. But it's he is just a very deceptive guy. You know, he's an accomplished musician.
Yeah.
And we were politically very we got along politically very well. So. But we didn't have many scenes together other than, most of my stuff was with T, as you know.
Yeah.
But I guess my favorite episode was When Are You Coming Back, Range Rider?
Oh, yeah.
When
I remember that one.
Yeah, he had the famous grease that nobody could stand the smell, and everybody was putting their fingers up to their nose after it. We had a blast doing that and laughed for a long, long time shooting that. shooting that episode.
And Dwight, that brings me on to the big man, B.A., played by Mr. T, and it was very much a funny sort of love-hate relationship on set, but deep down a caring one, despite B.A.'s overuse of the words crazy fool. But do you think the writing and the script made that instant chemistry between the two of you on screen, or was it very much the opposites attract that brought out the best in both of you? And I hear Mr. T was very much a light-hearted, fun guy, quite the opposite to the character he played.
Exactly. He was. We hit it off also on camera because both of us knew, hey, we're here to do our jobs, and that's what we did. And there wasn't any funny business when the two of us were working. And T was, first of all, he's this big hulking guy who always needed a heater and a shawl because he was always cold. He was always cold, and he giggled a lot. He was always giggling, and and this is an amazing thing about him. There was always a child on the set from Make-A-Wish Foundation who only had a few more months to live.
Yeah.
And T would carry that kid around on the set all day and give an enormous amount of energy and life to the child. And you would see the child light up. And I couldn't do what T did. He just was a big-hearted guy, and there was never any PR about it. On the set. There weren't any reporters around. He wasn't making a big deal of it.
Yeah.
He just did it for the children.
Yeah.
And he was a great guy. He was easy to work with. There was a time when T and George didn't get along.
Yeah, that's well known, yeah.
That was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But from the standpoint of T and me and T and Dirk and George and me and George and Dirk, we all got along famously. Yeah. There were never any problems. But he really was a lot of fun. He would stand at his trailer and eat an entire pie with a fork. And that was real gold around his neck. It put a groove in his neck. Yeah. So you'll see, you don't really see T run very much. It was always Tony Brubaker, the stunt guy, who ran when he had to run fast.
Yeah.
But and that's another thing about that show. The stuntmen were amazing.
Yeah. It reminds me. It reminds me when I was speaking to the cast about the Dukes of Hazzard, and I was talking to Sonny Schreier, and he said the exact same thing, that the stuntmen in relation to the car chases were just out of this world. And you must have had some great stuntmen as well.
Yeah, Craig Baxley, and he changed the look of action on television. And my stunt, Steve Chambers was typically my stunt guy, and I just can't say enough about him. I mean, he was just amazing. They all were. I mean, all the stuntmen were just amazing people to be around, and a lot of fun. It was a great set. Yeah. It really was. There was a lot of fun on the set. There was some tension, but on the whole, we wanted it to go, 7 years, but unfortunately it only went 4.
And Dwight Schultz, why do you think the A-Team stands the test of time as such and has such a huge cult following worldwide, that even the A-Team movie itself, to most fans of the TV series, was seen as maybe a completely different programme, or I dare to say it, a bit of a disappointment? And what do you think that the A-Team appeals to, why do you think the A-Team appeals to people from all different walks of life, young, old, male or female, white or black?
Because it was a simple entertainment. It was clearly meant for you to enjoy as a comic book. They were heroes. They were always defending the little guy against the bad guy, and they themselves, of course, were being chased. but they took time out to defend people who were defenseless. And the joke is, no one was, all the bullets that went in that show, nobody was ever hit. Yeah. And that's, of course, designed that way because it was a comic book. It really was. It was comic book heroes, modern day, comic book heroes, and it was funny. It was a very funny show, and everybody had their moment.
Yeah.
When Stephen Cannell and Frank Lupo were writing for us, which didn't happen, unfortunately enough, they always gave the characters that they created a moment in every show, so that you could ply your wares, and the audience loved it. The audience loved it, and they knew we were having a great time.
Mm.
When the audience knows you're having a good time and you're not pulling a fast one, they love it. They love it.
And Dwight, I spoke to Eddie Velez, and he was telling me when he came into the show as the character Frankie Santana that it was just a blockbuster phenomenon, the A-Team at that time. And towards the end of the last season, you had two new characters come in. One of them sadly not with us anymore. But even speaking about Eddie Velez coming in there and have a new, was that shake-up? How hard was that coming in for those two guys coming into the show in the 5th season, and maybe the show taking on a different direction?
Yes, it was very hard, and this was. I'll be honest. I had a producer say this to me. All they wanted was 100 episodes. That's all they wanted. 100. They wanted to fall over the finish line. They used different terms, but that's all they wanted. They wanted their syndication deal, and they were looking for a way to keep the show going in the last year. And we stopped production at one point the year prior and said, "Come on, guys, you stop writing scripts. We need scripts." And they didn't care, and NBC wanted it to die. And so they just tried to figure out a way to get us to dribble us out over to the 100 episodes. That's it, and it was very tough. Mr. Vaughn and Eddie, they were great. Robert Vaughn, they were all great people, but the show changed. They changed the formula at that point, and you can't do that. You really have. You will see that most series that go the 7 or 8 years, they have an arc that remains the same, and they have one person in charge making sure that every show follows that arc. But we had different writers every year. We didn't have the same writers ever. And they were fighting NBC because NBC wanted it off. They weren't proud of the show. And so Stephen Cannell was busy creating an empire, actually, north of the border. And I don't know, they must have had 6, 7, 8 series that had been created during the 4 years of the A-Team. And it was tough going. I mean, we were all sad. We were very sad because we knew that had they really put the effort into it, it could have gone longer.
And Dwight Schultz, what is your own favourite episode of the A-Team? And likewise, maybe, what is your favourite scene?
Well, I have to... I have to be a little partial here. I had a great opportunity. My wife was in an episode.
All right.
And it was the last time that the A-Team was number 1, and I got to kiss my wife on screen, and she's playing a veterinarian, and it was very sweet of them actually to write my wife in like that. Yeah. And I received perhaps 100 and 200 Polaroids from fans around the country of the moment that we kissed. And Bounty is the name of the show. Yeah. And so that's partially. I mean, that was really a favorite show. But then what I said earlier, When He Coming Back, Range Rider, is probably my favorite non-wife show. So,
and Dwight Schultz, how would you like to be remembered for your role as Murdoch in the A-Team?
I had an opportunity to play many characters, and that was something that I was, for 13 years I was in regional theater, and I just wanted to be known as a versatile actor. That's it, one who entertained. I just wanted to be known as someone who could entertain you and make you laugh. Okay. And that's how I would like to be remembered.
And Dwight, before we leave you now, we have this sort of quiz, and we have a few celebrities on it so far. It's a rapid fire quiz. It's just roughly of just a few minutes. It's celebrity. How well do you know Ireland? Now we have a few celebrities on so far. Our leader is Joseph Marcel, who played Jeffrey in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's on 8 with Tommy Chong, who from that 70s show, who played Leo. He's on 8 there as well. So there are 2 leaders at the moment. So it's just very simple questions about Ireland, okay? So would you like to take part?
I'm not going to do well.
Okay, so Dwight. Okay, Dwight Schultz, how well do you know Ireland? Okay, first question.
No.
Can you name any colour on the Irish flag?
Green.
Okay, 1 from 1. Can you name any county in Ireland?
County Cork.
Okay, 2 from 2. What is March 17th known as worldwide?
That's St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, 3 from 3. Which of these is an Ireland's tourist attraction? Okay, a famous tourist attraction in Ireland. Is it the Cliffs of Moher, Brandenburg Gate, or Oystermouth Castle?
I don't know.
Okay, so next question, number 5. What is the biggest river in Ireland? Is it the River Shannon, the River Rhine, or the River Leck?
Shannon.
Okay, correct. Can you name one famous Irish sports star?
Sports star?
Yeah, any Irish sports star.
No.
Okay, no problem. And what famous Irish drink was founded in Ireland? A famous drink that was founded in Ireland. Yeah?
Guinness.
Correct. Ireland was once occupied by what country? As one of our neighbours.
England.
Correct. What plant or symbol is the crest of Ireland?
Oh. It escapes me. I don't know.
Okay. And finally, can you name one famous Irish musician or actor? One Irish actor or one Irish musician?
Oh, gosh. Of course I should know this one. Oh. Sinead O'Connor.
Okay, that's correct. Dwight Schultz, okay, that puts you in, you've scored 7 points, okay, out of 10. Okay, congratulations on taking part in a celebrity. How well do you know Ireland? Okay, so you're just behind the joint leaders of Joseph Marcel and Tommy Chong at the moment. So 7 is a good, respectable score, Dwight. Thanks for taking part.
Well, yeah, my pleasure. But let me say this. I do have Irish blood in me on my mother's side, the Hughes family.
Okay.
So
that's great.
Maybe that goes for something.
Yeah, that goes for something, Dwight. Dwight, it's been an absolute honour, and as for someone who has the whole 18 box set and grew up as a child watching the series as well, thank you for all the special memories, and it really was a joy to behold, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavours, Dwight.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Take care now.